Children's Animal Encyclopedia. Children's Animal Encyclopedia by Sally Morgan. Introduction. Animals are found in every part of the world, from the warm rainforests to the freezing poles, and from high mountains to the deepest oceans. This book tells you all about the amazing world of animals. You can read about the many different places where animals live, and find out how animals survive in their surroundings. You can also learn how many animals are under threat and what we can do to help them. At the back of the book is a section where you can compare the different kinds of animals. There is also a list of useful words that will help you to understand any difficult words, as well as helpful websites where you can find more information on animals and their habitats. The Animal Kingdom. There are more than 1.5 million different types, or species, of animal in the world, and there are millions more still waiting to be discovered. Animals come in many different shapes, sizes, and colors. They live in a lot of different places and behave in very different ways. The largest animal is the gigantic blue whale, but some animals are as small as tiny specks of dust. Animal features. Animals may look very different, but they are alike in many ways. They all breathe, feed, and grow. Most animals have senses so that they can see, smell, hear, taste, and touch what is around them. Breathing. Many animals breathe using lungs. When this rabbit breathes in, it pulls air down its airway into its lungs. Airway. Lungs. Feeding. Plants can make their own food, but animals have to find something to eat. Animals that eat plants are called herbivores. Animals that eat other animals are called carnivores. This heron is a carnivore. It feeds on small animals, such as fish. Moving around. Animals move in different ways. They walk on land, fly in the air, or swim in water. Animals move to find food, to escape from a hunter, or to find a partner. Fish use fins to steer in the water. Did you know? The Atlantic giant squid has the largest eyes in the world. Each eyeball can measure up to 16 inches across. Raising young. Animals have many different ways of having babies. Some give birth to live young, while others, such as birds and reptiles, lay eggs from which the young hatch. The senses. Animals use their senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch to hunt for food, defend themselves, and to detect the world around them. For example, owls have large eyes that they use to hunt for prey at night. Body parts. Animals can be divided into two groups. One group of animals has a backbone. These animals are called vertebrates. A backbone is like a stiff rod that runs down the back of a body. The other group is the invertebrates. These animals do not have backbones. Skeletons. Fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals are all vertebrates. Their bones make up the skeleton. The skeleton supports the animal's body and the muscles that are used to move around. These bones are from the skeleton of a bird. Skull. Backbone. Jellyfish. Jellyfish are invertebrates that live in water. When they are out of water, jellyfish collapse into a wobbly lump of jelly. Protected by a shell. A snail is an invertebrate. It has a shell that protects its soft body. The snail moves along using its large foot. A snail's foot runs along the bottom of its body. Tough armor. Crabs are invertebrates and belong to a group of animals called arthropods. Arthropods are protected by a tough outer covering called an external skeleton. Other arthropods include insects, spiders, and lobsters. Body organs. An organ is a part of an animal's body that has a particular job to do. For example, the eyes are used to see and the heart pumps the blood around the body. Like other animals, the human body contains many different organs, including the heart, lungs, liver, and brain. Brain. Heart. Lungs. Liver. Stomach. Intestines. Animal behavior. Everything that an animal does is part of its behavior. Some behavior has to be learned, either by watching a parent or by the animal trying something for itself. Communicating with sound. Many animals use sound to communicate with each other. An animal, such as a lion or a wolf, may use sound to tell its rivals to stay away or to attract a partner. Wolves howl to communicate with each other. Using color. Some animals use bright colors to attract a partner. Male peacocks have brightly colored tail feathers, which they raise to form fans. Females choose the males that have the best display. Learning behavior. Chimpanzees have learned how to use simple tools. They push long sticks into termite nests. The termites grip the sticks, then the chimpanzees pull the sticks out and eat the termites. Hunting. Lion cubs learn how to hunt by watching their mothers. By the time they are a couple of years old, the cubs are ready to hunt on their own. Living together. Animals that live in large groups can hunt together and protect each other. Many fish swim in large groups called shoals. All the fish within a shoal swim together, moving as if they were one. Life cycles. Animals give birth or lay eggs to produce young animals. This is called reproduction. These young animals grow up, have young of their own, and then die. This is known as a life cycle. Amphibians. Frogs belong to a group of animals called amphibians. They lay a mass of tiny black eggs, called frog spawn, in water. Each egg is covered in jelly. Did you know? The oldest animal ever recorded was an Icelandic cyprin, which is a type of shellfish. One example lived for 374 years. Birds. Birds lay eggs. The eggs have to be kept warm while the chicks grow inside. When the chicks are ready to hatch, they use special teeth on the ends of their beaks to break out of their shells. Budding hydras. The hydra is a simple animal that lives in water. A hydra reproduces by growing a new, identical hydra in a method called budding. A bud appears on the side of the hydra's body. This bud grows and drops off to form a new hydra. Bud. Feeding on milk. Mammals give birth to live young. After the babies are born, mammals feed their young with milk made by the mothers. Sheep are mammals that feed milk to their young. A long life. Some animals live for just a few days, while others will live for many years. Elephants, for example, grow very slowly and live for a long time. Some live to 80 years of age. Animal habitats. The place where an animal lives is called its habitat. A habitat is made up of a community or group of plants and animals. There are many different types of habitat, such as mountains, seas, and cities. The sea. The sea is the world's biggest habitat. There are deep oceans as well as shallow stretches of water near land. Animals that are found in the sea have to cope with living in salty water. Living on mountains. Conditions on mountains change with the height. Near the peaks, it is cold and windy. Few animals live here. Lower down, there are meadows and forests where most of the animals live. Living in cities. Many animals have moved into towns and cities. Birds nest in trees and parks and in buildings, while squirrels and foxes visit gardens and parks. Freshwater life. Lakes and rivers are home to many different kinds of animal. These animals are used to living in fresh water, which is water that contains very little salt. They include frogs, fish, and pond snails. Forest homes. Woods and forests are full of trees. These offer animals a lot of places to make a home and plenty of food to eat. Even a pile of logs is home to many different animals, such as slugs, centipedes, and wood lice, as well as mice and snakes. A pile of logs offers animals a lot of dark places to live. Food chains. All animals rely on other living things for food. Some animals eat plants, such as grass, while others hunt the plant-eating animals. This is called a food chain. Every food chain starts with plants. Plants. Plants are able to make their own food. They take energy from sunlight and use it to make food. They store this food in their leaves. This means that plants are full of good things for plant-eating animals to eat. Plant eaters. The plant eaters are the first animals in the food chain. On the African plains, for example, large herds of antelope eat grass, while giraffes eat the leaves off trees. Animals that only eat plants, such as antelopes, are called herbivores. Meat eaters. The plant eaters are hunted by the meat eaters, or carnivores. Lions and leopards are carnivores that hunt antelopes and other grazing animals. Animals that hunt, such as leopards, are called predators. Recycling the waste. Bacteria break down the remains of dead animals. They recycle the bodies back into the soil to be used by plants. Bacteria. Did you know? Bacteria are so small that more than 1 million of them could fit onto the head of a pin. Nature at risk. Sometimes, habitats are damaged by natural events, such as a drought or a fire. Today, however, a lot of damage is caused by people. Forests are cut down, grassland is plowed up, and harmful substances are pumped into the ground, air, rivers, and oceans. Too many fish. When fishermen catch too many fish in their nets, animals such as seals, seabirds, whales, and dolphins starve. Clearing trees. Each year, millions of trees in forests are cut down. Sometimes, this is to clear the land for farming or housing. This destroys animals' homes as well as the food they eat. Did you know? The world's rainforests are being cut down so quickly that they could disappear completely in just 40 years. Oil spills. Large ships called tankers carry oil around the world. Occasionally, the tankers have accidents and oil spills into the sea. The oil kills seabirds and other animals. Seabirds that are covered in oil cannot float and they quickly drown. Climate change. When fuels are burned, they release gases into the atmosphere. These gases are thought to be changing the Earth's climate and making temperatures hotter. This is called global warming. Global warming can damage habitats and kill animals that cannot survive in the new conditions. Living on land. There are many different habitats on land. Forests have a lot of trees growing closely together. Grasslands have a lot of grasses and very few trees. Deserts are the driest places in the world, while the poles at the top and bottom of the world are the coldest habitats. Rainforests. Tropical rainforests are amazing places. They are found in the hot and wet parts of the world, close to the equator, the region around the middle of the earth. The trees grow close together and very little light reaches the forest floor. Roof over the forest. The tops of the trees form a canopy, the roof of the rainforest. The canopy may be 80 to 100 feet above the ground. Did you know? More than half of the world's animals live in the rainforests. There are many more kinds of animal waiting to be discovered in these forests. Hunting in trees. The python is just one of many kinds of snake that can be found living in the canopy. Pythons lie hidden in the branches waiting for their prey to pass. Pythons coil themselves around the branches of trees when they are resting. The forest floor. Few plants are found growing on the forest floor. This is because it is too dark. The ground is covered with a layer of fallen leaves and fruit. Roots in the air. Some plants do not grow in the soil. Instead, they grow on other plants, with their roots dangling in the air. These plants are called epiphytes. Some epiphytes produce colorful flowers that attract birds and insects. Inside a rainforest. The plants in a rainforest grow in 4 layers. A few of the tallest trees poke through the rainforest canopy. Just beneath the canopy are smaller trees and shrubs. Finally, at the very bottom, is the dark forest floor. Tallest trees. Canopy. Smaller trees and shrubs. Floor. Life in the canopy. Most of the rainforest animals live in the canopy. They have learned how to move from tree to tree and where to find food and water. Some animals never come down to the ground. Orange ape. Orangutans have long arms and legs. Their fingers are hooked to help them grip branches as they climb through the trees looking for fruit. Colorful beak. The toucan eats fruit. It uses its long beak to reach fruit that grows at the ends of small branches. Insects in the canopy. Many different kinds of insect are found in the canopy where they eat leaves. These insects may be eaten by larger animals, such as birds or lizards. This katydid is colored green so that it can hide among the leaves. Tough beak. The scarlet macaw has a powerful hooked beak. It uses this to crack open nuts and as an extra claw to climb up the trunks of trees. Clever camouflage. Chameleons can change the color of their skin so that they blend in with the leaves of the trees. This is called camouflage and it makes the animals difficult to see. Chameleons catch insects to eat using their very long tongues. Did you know? Although most chameleons eat insects, a few species are big enough to catch and eat birds. Keeping in touch. Rainforests are noisy places. The trees block out much of the sunlight, so it is very gloomy. This makes it hard for animals to see each other, so they talk to each other instead. Noisy cicadas. Cicadas are insects that make a deafening sound. They make these sounds when the weather changes, when they are about to mate, or if they have been disturbed. Cicadas make a noise by vibrating thin, drum-like pieces of skin on their bodies. Howling monkeys. The howler monkey is the world's loudest land-dwelling animal. Its booming call carries for up to 3 miles through the forest. Frog chorus. Most rainforest frogs are active at night. This is when their croaking can be heard. The male frogs croak to attract female frogs. When one red-eyed tree frog starts to croak, all the nearby frogs start croaking to create a deafening chorus. Bird song. Birds sing for many reasons. Some sing to tell other birds to stay away, while others sing to attract a partner. Each kind of bird has its own song. For example, the cockatoo makes screeching and whistling sounds. Moving around. Rainforest animals have many ways of moving around the canopy. Some run along branches and jump from tree to tree. Others swing from branch to branch, using their arms and tails. Slow mover. Sloths move so slowly in the branches that moss and algae grow on their fur. This makes sloths slightly green in color and helps them to hide in the trees. Did you know? Sloths spend most of their time hanging upside down from branches. They sleep for 15 hours a day. Gripping tail. The spider monkey has a long tail that it uses just like an extra leg. The monkey can wrap its tail around branches, using it to swing through the trees easily. A spider monkey's tail is so strong that it can support the monkey's weight. Swinging around. Animals such as gibbons and spider monkeys can swing through the trees because they have very flexible shoulders. Swinging is a very fast way of getting around. The animals can move through trees faster than a human can walk on the ground. Gibbons swing from one arm to the other. Slithering snakes. Snakes move from one branch to another by stretching out their heads and holding on with their tails. They slither through the branches looking for birds, reptiles, and mammals to eat. Rainforest floor. The rainforest floor is dark and damp. Much of it is covered in leaves, twigs, and fruit that have fallen from the trees. Few plants can survive in the gloom. Rotting leaves. The forest floor is covered in a thin layer of rotting leaves. Because the forest is warm and damp, the leaves rot, break down, very quickly. Tapirs. Tapirs are some of the largest animals that live on the forest floor. They are pig-like animals with long, rubbery noses. They are found in the rainforests of Malaysia and South America. Tapirs use their long noses to sniff out fallen fruit and other food. Big cat. The jaguar is a large hunter that eats birds, tapirs, and even crocodiles. The dark spots on its coat help it to hide in the shadows on the forest floor. Leafcutters. Leafcutter ants use their jaws to cut pieces of leaves to take back to their nests. Long lines of leafcutter ants can be seen in the forest, stretching from the treetops to the forest floor, where the ants have their nests. Leafcutter ants use the pieces of leaf to grow a fungus that the ants eat. Did you know? A leafcutter ant can carry almost 10 times its own weight. That is like a human lifting a small car above his or her head. The tiger. Tigers are the largest of all the cats. They are powerful hunters that eat pigs, deer, and young elephants. Sadly, their numbers are falling because their habitat is being destroyed and people are killing them for their fur and bones. Sharp teeth. The pointed teeth near the front of the tiger's mouth are about 4 inches long. They are called canine teeth. Tigers use their canine teeth to stab and grip prey. Canine teeth. Tiger cubs. A female tiger gives birth to 2 or 3 cubs. The cubs stay with their mother for about 18 months while they learn how to hunt. Siberian tigers. Siberian tigers are the largest of all the tigers. They are found in the mountains along the border between Russia and China. Siberian tigers have thicker coats than other tigers because they have to live in very cold conditions. Did you know? A Siberian tiger can eat 100 pounds of meat in one meal, that's the same as eating 400 hamburgers in one sitting. The Bengal tiger. Some Bengal tigers have white fur with pale stripes. Male Bengal tigers are about 10 feet long and can weigh nearly 500 pounds, or the weight of 3 adult humans. Nearly half of all the tigers left in the wild are Bengal tigers. Tiger facts. Tigers are found in India, Nepal, China, Southeast Asia, and eastern Russia. In the wild, tigers can live for up to 15 years. In zoos, they will live much longer. There are between 5,000 and 7,500 tigers left in the wild. Warm grasslands. Grasslands are large areas of flat ground covered by grasses. Warm grasslands, or savannas, are found in Africa, South America, and Australia. During the dry months the grasses turn yellow. However, once the rains fall, the grasslands turn green. A sea of grass. Some of the grasses on the savanna are taller than people. There are only a few trees, such as acacias and baobabs. Most of the young trees are eaten before they can grow very tall. Bone-crushing hyenas. Spotted hyenas are hunters that live on the grasslands of Africa. They have strong jaws and huge teeth that can crush the bones of their prey as if they were twigs. Did you know? The hyena is often called the laughing hyena because of its noisy cackle or laugh-like call. The Great Migration. Each year, huge herds of zebras and wildebeest make long journeys in search of fresh grass to eat. This is called a migration. The migration is dangerous since the animals have to cope with fast-flowing rivers and hunters, such as crocodiles. On guard. Meerkats live in large groups in burrows under the grasslands of southern Africa. Each member of the group has a job to do. Some are babysitters or teachers, while others are guards or hunters. Meerkats keep a keen eye out for hunters, such as snakes or jackals. Grazing animals. The long grasses on the savanna plains attract a lot of grass-eating, or grazing, animals. When food and water are scarce, these animals join together in huge herds. Giraffes. The giraffe has a long neck and long legs. These let it eat the leaves at the tops of trees that other animals cannot reach. Did you know? The giraffe may have a very long neck, but it still has just 7 neck bones, the same as people. Impalas. Impalas are grazing animals that live in small herds. Green shoots of grass are their favorite food. These shoots appear soon after it rains. Single toes. Zebras have long legs. These end in a single toe. The toes are protected by hard coverings called hooves. Hoof. Chewing the cud. A grazing animal swallows its food quickly when it eats. The food sits in its stomach before being brought up again into its mouth to chew. This is called chewing the cud and it helps to break up tough grass. Large stomach. Intestines. Waterholes. Waterholes are pools of water on the grasslands. These pools are very important because they are the only sources of drinking water during the dry season when the rains stop. Hunters. There are many hunting animals, or predators, living on the savanna. They are attracted by the herds of grazing animals. Predators include lions, leopards, cheetahs, and birds of prey. Running fast. The cheetah is the world's fastest runner. Its thin body and long legs are perfect for running very fast. Cheetahs use their tails for balance when they are running fast. Did you know? Cheetahs can run at speeds of up to 60 miles per hour. Working together. Lions work as a team when they hunt. Some of the lions lie in wait, while others chase an animal toward them. By hunting together, they can catch and pull down large animals, such as wildebeest. Birds of prey. Birds of prey look for prey while they are flying high above the ground. When they see something to eat, they swoop down on and attack the prey with their claws and beaks. Hunting in packs. African wild dogs live together in large groups called packs. They hunt as a team and take turns chasing an animal to tire it out before catching it. Termites. Termites are small insects that live together in huge groups called colonies. They build enormous nests that stretch far above and below the ground. Worker termites. Most of the termites in a colony are worker termites. These are the termites that build the nest and find food. They are just a fraction of an inch long and are a pale cream color. The worker termites that build the nests are blind. Towering chimneys. Termites live in large pillars called mounds. Some of the largest termite mounds rise several yards into the air. These towers are designed to let air flow freely through them to keep the nest cool. Termites for dinner. Some animals feed on termites and can eat thousands of the insects in a day. These termite eaters include this carmine bee eater. Inside a nest. In addition to stretching high above the ground, termites' nests reach deep into the ground. Here, there are underground chambers where the queen termite lays her eggs and where the workers store food. The inside of a termite nest has thousands of tunnels and chambers. Termite facts. There are more than 2,000 different species, or kinds, of termite. Worker termites live most of their lives underground and in the nest. Termites build their nests from clay, dirt, or wood, which they mix with saliva, liquid from their mouth. Termites can cause a lot of damage by chewing the wood of buildings. Scavengers. Animals that feed on the dead remains of other animals are called scavengers. Scavengers on the savanna include vultures, jackals, and dung beetles. Stealing food. Some hunters, such as this jackal, are scavengers. They have found that it is easier to eat dead animals, or to steal an animal killed by another hunter, than to kill prey themselves. Jackals follow lions and will eat up any meat that the lions leave on a dead body. Vultures. Vultures can see a dead animal on the ground from high in the sky. They glide down to the ground and are soon joined by other vultures to pick over the body. Cleaning up. Dung beetles use their sense of smell to find fresh dung on the ground. They roll the dung into a ball and push it into a hole in the ground beside their eggs. The young beetles feed on the dung when they hatch. Did you know? Sometimes, 2 or 3 dung beetles fight over a small ball of dung. Keeping clean. The heads and necks of vultures are either covered in short feathers or they have no feathers at all. This allows the vultures to stick their heads right inside a dead body and not get any long feathers covered in blood. Vultures have sharp beaks to rip meat off a dead body. Deserts. Deserts are places that have very little rain. Some deserts are hot but there are cold deserts, too. The animals that live in deserts have to be able to survive in a dry place. Sand dunes. Sand dunes are formed by the wind blowing the sand into piles. Some animals burrow into the dunes to escape the heat and cold. Did you know? The largest hot desert in the world is the Sahara in North Africa. It is almost the same size as the United States. The Atacama. The center of the Atacama Desert in South America is the driest place on the earth. In some parts, rain has not fallen for hundreds of years. Animals that live here are only found near the coast, where there is water. North America. The deserts of North America have more plant life than many other deserts. These plants include small bushes and cacti. Some animals make their homes in the cacti or feed on their flowers and fruit. The cactus stores water inside its stem. Cold deserts. Antarctica lies around the South Pole. It is the coldest place in the world, but so little rain and snow falls that the region is called a desert. Despite this, a lot of animals visit Antarctica to feed and breed during the summer months. These include whales, penguins, and seals. Hot deserts. Most deserts are hot during the day, so animals creep under bushes or into holes to escape the sun. At night, the temperatures fall and it can be very cold. Locust swarms. Locusts form groups called swarms. They fly out of the desert and eat whole crops in neighboring regions. Nighttime hunter. Bat-eared foxes avoid the heat of the desert by sleeping in burrows during the day. They come out at night to hunt when it is cooler. The fox's large ears are very good at hearing prey running across the sand. Geckos. Geckos are small lizards. They run on the tips of their feet so that they do not get burned by the hot desert sand. Geckos lick their eyeballs to stop them from drying out. Scorpions. Some scorpions live in deserts. They are nocturnal, which means that they are active at night. They ambush prey and sting it with their tail stings before eating it. The sting of some scorpions can kill people. Did you know? Scientists have discovered remains of giant scorpions that were more than 5 feet long. These prehistoric monsters lived 330 million years ago. Desert reptiles. Reptiles are animals that have a scaly skin. They include snakes and lizards. The scaly skin stops their bodies from losing too much water in the dry desert. Thorny devils. These strange-looking lizards live in the deserts of Australia. Their bodies are covered with very sharp spines. These help to keep hunters away. The desert tortoise. Desert tortoises get water by eating plants. They store this water in their bodies and use it when they cannot find any plants to eat. Tortoises have a thick shell to protect them from hunters. Poisonous rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes are poisonous snakes that have rattles at the ends of their tails. They shake their rattles when they are threatened as a warning to other animals. Their sharp teeth inject poison when the snakes bite. This poison kills or paralyzes their prey. Sidewinders. Sidewinders are snakes that can move over hot sand without getting burned. They move sideways, with just a few parts of their bodies touching the sand. The snakes leave behind a series of lines in the sand as their tracks. Tracks. The camel. The camel is an expert at surviving in the desert. It can go for 2 weeks without water. A camel can even drink salty water that would kill other animals. One hump. Dromedary camels are found in the hot deserts of Africa and the Middle East. They have a single hump on their backs. 2 humps. Bactrian camels have 2 humps on their backs. They are found in the cold deserts of China and Central Asia. Bactrian camels have thick coats to keep them warm. Desert protection. The camel has long eyelashes to protect its eyes from the sun and blowing sand. Its nostrils can close shut tightly to keep out any sand. A camel's ears are lined with thick hair to keep out sand. Did you know? Camels have been used to carry goods for humans for more than 4,500 years. Camel facts. Camels have large, broad feet that are ideal for walking through the desert because they do not sink into the sand. Most people think that a camel's hump is full of water. Instead, it is full of fat. A camel uses this fat when it cannot find enough food to eat. Cool grasslands. Grasslands found in the cooler parts of the world are called temperate grasslands. These regions are warm in the summer, and they may be covered in snow in the winter. What's in a name? Temperate grasslands are called different names in different parts of the world. In North America, they are called prairies. In South America, they are called pampas, and in Asia, they are known as steppes. Herd animals. Some plant-eating animals join together in huge herds, or groups, on the grasslands. These include pronghorns, which are a kind of antelope that live in North America. Sharp points. Porcupines are covered in thousands of sharp spines called quills. When attacked, they turn their backs on their enemy and raise their quills to protect themselves. Porcupine quills break off easily and remain stuck in an attacker. Did you know? Some kinds of porcupine have 30,000 or more pointed quills on their backs. Prairie hunters. There are a number of predators, or hunters, on the prairie, such as coyotes. They hunt hares and small deer, on their own or in packs. Coyotes communicate by making long, loud howls. Grassland mammals. A lot of plant-eating mammals are attracted to grasslands because there is plenty of food. These plant eaters also attract hunters that come looking for animals to eat. Digging hunter. The badger uses its long, sharp claws to dig small animals, such as ground squirrels and mice, out of the ground. Good listener. The rabbit has long ears, which give it a good sense of hearing. It uses these to listen for any hunters that may be nearby. Rabbits thump the ground with their back legs to warn other rabbits of danger. Did you know? A single pair of rabbits will have as many as 40 babies in a year. Red fox. The red fox is a carnivore, or meat eater. It is usually active at night, when it hunts for small mammals, such as rabbits. It also eats berries. Pack animals. Llamas are found on the grassy slopes of the Andes Mountains in South America. These plant eaters live in groups called herds and are used by local people to carry heavy loads. Llamas are related to camels. American bison. The American bison is the largest land mammal in North America. It is easily recognized by its extra-large head and shoulders and its shaggy coat. Keeping sharp. Both the male and female bison have a pair of short, curved horns. They rub their horns against trees or rocks to keep them sharp. Bison use their horns to fight each other. Return of the bison. During the late 1800s, human hunters killed nearly all of the bison. Only 1,000 or so survived. Today, they are protected by law and their numbers are increasing. Surviving the cold. At the start of winter, bison move from the grasslands to valleys and wooded areas, where they can shelter from the cold winter storms. Did you know? Bison can run very quickly. They can reach speeds of up to 45 miles per hour. Bison facts. When attacked by wolves or other large hunters, bison form a circle around their young with their horns pointing outward. Adult bison can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. That is as much as 12 adult humans. The bison is also called the American buffalo. Living under the grassland. A large number of animals live under grasslands. Many dig deep holes, called burrows, in the soil. Others use the holes for shelter. Prairie dogs. Prairie dogs are named after their call, which sounds like a dog's bark. They live together in large groups and dig a maze of burrows, which is called a town. Did you know? 100 years ago, there were as many as 5 billion prairie dogs living on the grasslands of North America. Tunneling moles. Moles are small animals with large front feet that are shaped like spades. They use their feet to dig tunnels through the soil. Moles feed on worms and other small animals that fall into the tunnels. Living in tunnels. Tunnels dug by prairie dogs and moles can be homes to other animals. These include salamanders, which are related to frogs and toads. There is even a kind of bird, called the burrowing owl, which lives in tunnels underground. Hunters also move into the burrows, such as snakes, ferrets, and badgers. Prairie dogs. Ferret. Burrowing owl. Rabbit. Badger. Salamander. Wombats. Wombats are nighttime plant eaters that are found only in Australia. They live in burrows that can be up to 65 feet long and lie more than 6 feet below the ground. Living in the trees. Many kinds of animals make their homes in trees all around the world. Trees give them both food and shelter. Fussy eater. Koalas live in the forests of Australia and they eat only the leaves from eucalyptus trees. Koalas sleep during the day when it is hot and become active at sunset. Koalas rarely drink water. They usually get the liquid they need from leaves. Did you know? Eucalyptus leaves are poisonous to most animals. But koalas can destroy the poisons inside their bodies, making the leaves safe to eat. Building a nest. Many birds make their nests from materials they find in the forests. They collect twigs, leaves, moss, feathers, and pieces of sheep's fleece to use in their nests. Tree frogs. Most frogs live on the ground, but tree frogs live high up in rainforest trees. They have sticky pads at the tips of their toes that help them to grip branches. The red squirrel. The red squirrel has reddish-brown fur and long ear tufts. It is found in northern forests and feeds on seeds and nuts. Squirrels use their bushy tails to keep warm at night. Mixed forests. Temperate forests are found in cool parts of the world. They are a mixture of trees that lose their leaves in winter, deciduous trees, and trees that keep their leaves during the cold months, evergreen trees. Losing leaves. Deciduous trees lose their leaves because they do not get enough water in the winter. The water in the ground freezes, making it impossible for trees to collect it through their roots. The leaves turn brown and fall off. Did you know? The largest tree, the sequoia, can grow to more than 325 feet tall and live for 2,000 years. Living on the floor. The forest floor is covered with plants and fallen leaves. These make it an ideal home for many small animals, such as millipedes. Millipedes eat the leaves that fall off the trees. Forest birds. Temperate forests are home to many birds. The birds eat the seeds and fruit that grow on the trees, as well as insects living there. The birds also build nests in the branches. Wrens hunt for insects in holes and cracks in trees. Wild boar. Wild boar are large pigs that live in forests. They eat roots, fruit, and berries that lie on the forest floor. Male boar have curved teeth called tusks, which stick out of their mouths. Woodland insects. Many insects lay their eggs on trees. When the eggs hatch, the young insects are then close to their favorite food, leaves. Caterpillars. Caterpillars are the larvae, or young, of butterflies and moths. They eat leaves and grow in size before they turn into adult moths and butterflies. This caterpillar is brightly colored as a warning that it is poisonous. Clever hiders. Many caterpillars are difficult to see on trees. Some are colored green so that they blend in with the leaves. This makes them hard for hunters to see. Some caterpillars look like small twigs. Did you know? Caterpillars double in size every 4 to 5 days because they eat so much. Insect hunters. The insects living among the leaves attract many woodland birds, such as blue tits. These birds pick the insects out of the bark on the trees. They eat the insects or feed them to their young. Blue tits build their nests inside holes in tree trunks. All about galls. Galls are small balls that grow on leaves and branches. The galls are made by insects called gall wasps. The wasps lay their eggs inside a leaf or branch. As the egg hatches and the young wasp grows, the plant swells to form a gall with the insect inside. Young wasp. Woodland floor. The woodland floor is damp and shady and is covered in a thick layer of leaves and twigs. Many animals live here, hiding from hunters and looking for something to eat. Stag beetles. Young stag beetles, or larvae, grow up on the forest floor. The adult males have huge jaws, which they use to fight each other. Did you know? When two male stag beetles fight, the winner is the beetle that can flip its opponent over. Woodland mice. During the day, woodland mice hide in small tunnels to avoid hunters. At night, they come out and look for seeds, fruit, nuts, and small insects to eat. Wolf spiders. Unlike many other spiders, wolf spiders do not make webs. Instead, they chase their prey on the ground. When they catch an animal, they inject it with poison so that it stops moving. Wolf spiders bite their prey with their huge fangs. Ground nesting. The woodcock nests on the woodland floor. The female bird has patchy-colored feathers that blend with the dead leaves on the ground. This hides her when she is on the nest. Woodcocks use their long bills to pick earthworms out of the soil. Surviving winter. Winter is a difficult time for animals. There is little food to eat and water can be frozen solid. Animals find different ways of surviving the cold winter months. Storing squirrels. During the fall, squirrels bury food, such as nuts, in the ground. In the winter, they dig the nuts up again to eat. Woodland deer. Deer shelter in woodlands throughout the winter, nibbling the buds off the ends of branches. They also push snow to one side with their feet so that they can find food. Sleeping skunks. Striped skunks go to sleep for several days at a time during the winter. On milder winter days, they wake up and hunt for food. Skunks protect themselves by spraying a smelly liquid at attackers. Hibernation. Some animals, such as dormice, survive the winter by crawling into a safe place and going into a very deep sleep. This is called hibernation. The animals wake up when the weather gets warmer in spring. Migrating birds. Birds such as swallows avoid the cold weather by flying to warmer parts of the world. Once the winter has finished and the weather gets warmer, the birds fly back. This journey is called a migration. Northern forests. A band of evergreen forest stretches across the top of North America, Europe, and Asia. The trees that grow here are called conifers. Winters are long and cold, and there are fewer animals than in warmer forests because there is little food to eat. Grazing deer. Large deer live in the northern coniferous forests, feeding off grass, twigs, and bark. Some deer grow enormous antlers on top of their heads. At the end of each year, these antlers drop off and new ones start to grow. Male white-tailed deer use their antlers to fight each other in the fall. This is called rutting. Did you know? As deer's antlers grow, they become covered in a furry skin called velvet. Sharp leaves. Conifer trees have leaves shaped like needles. These leaves are very sharp, and they are not very good for animals to eat. Laying eggs. The wood wasp, or horntail, lays its eggs in the bark of conifer trees. The female has a long, pointed tube at the end of her body, which she digs into the bark to lay her eggs. Egg-laying tube. Team birds. The northern forests are home to many birds. This blue jay lives in forests in North America. Blue jays will work together and attack other animals that get too near their nests. Forest hunters. The lynx is one of the hunting animals that live in the northern forests. It climbs up a tree and waits for an animal to pass close by before leaping down and attacking. The brown bear. Brown bears are found in Europe, Asia, and North America. They live in forests, grasslands, and on mountains. They have thick, furry coats that are gray, brown, or even black in color. Large animals. The largest brown bears are found on Kodiak Island in Alaska. They can weigh more than 1,300 pounds, that is as much as 9 adult humans. Catching salmon. In the fall, brown bears feast on salmon. They stand in rivers and catch the fish with their jaws and long claws. Some bears stand on top of waterfalls and catch salmon as they jump up. A mouthful of teeth. Bears use their teeth to catch prey, and also to attack other bears. They have a pair of long, sharp teeth at the front of their mouths for gripping animals. Looking for food. Bears will eat anything. They will even raid human campsites and trash cans looking for something to eat. Did you know? Bears have very poor eyesight. It is thought they have attacked people because they mistook them for deer. Brown bear facts. Bears can run at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. Brown bears are omnivorous. This means that they will eat any kind of food, including meat and plants. Male brown bears are much larger than female bears. In some cases, the male can be twice as large as the female. Birds of the forest. Mixed forests are home to a lot of different birds. These birds shelter and nest in the trees. Some only visit the forests in the winter, but others stay all year round. Woodpeckers. Woodpeckers make their nests in holes in tree trunks. They hammer their strong beaks against the trunks to dig out the holes. Did you know? Woodpeckers have 4 toes on their feet. 2 point forward and 2 point backward. This helps them to climb up and down tree trunks easily. Ghost of the forest. The great gray owl has gray feathers with black and white spots. These make the owl look like it is a ghost. Wild turkeys. Wild turkeys live in forests in North America. They spend most of their time on the ground, but they can fly over 500 yards to escape an attacker. Turkeys have small, weak wings, so they can fly only short distances. Goshawks. The goshawk is a bird of prey, that is, a bird that hunts other animals. Goshawks have very good eyesight and can see their prey from high up in the sky. Goshawks eat rabbits and squirrels. Frozen wastes. North of the coniferous forests lies an icy wasteland called the tundra. This region is frozen throughout the winter, but bursts into life when the snow melts in the short summer months. Fierce wolverines. The wolverine looks like a small bear, but it is related to the weasel. It lives in the northern forests and the tundra and has a thick coat of fur to protect it from the cold. Always frozen. Just beneath the surface of the tundra, the soil is always frozen. This stops plants with large roots, such as trees, from growing there. But during the summer, small plants, such as this Arctic poppy, burst into bloom. Tundra plains. When the summer arrives, the snow melts and forms pools on the tundra's surface. The soil becomes soft enough for small animals to burrow into, seeking shelter or food. Snow geese. Snow geese fly to the tundra in the summer to raise their young. In the fall, they fly south to warmer areas. Snow geese fly in large flocks, or groups. Herds of reindeer. Reindeer move into the tundra in the summer to give birth to their young. When winter comes, the reindeer herds return to the coniferous forests. Did you know? The Arctic tundra covers 1/10 of the Earth's total surface. The Arctic. The Arctic is the region around the North Pole. This icy world has very long winters. In the middle of winter, the sun sets and does not rise again for several weeks. Changing ice sheet. The Arctic is covered by a thick sheet of ice. During the summer, some of the ice melts and the sheet gets smaller. This means that land hunters, such as polar bears, have less area to hunt in, and they can struggle to find food. Keeping warm. Seals have a thick layer of fat, called blubber, just beneath their skin. This keeps the seals warm in the icy Arctic seas. Multicolored beaks. Puffins catch small fish to eat and to feed to their young. They hold the fish in their colorful beaks and carry about 10 fish at a time. Did you know? Puffins are very good swimmers and can dive to depths of 200 feet to look for fish. A new coat. The Arctic fox changes the color of its coat during the year to blend in with its surroundings. In winter, it has a white coat to hide in the snow. In summer, it turns brown to match the rocks and soil. Traveling animals. During the summer, many animals travel to the Arctic to feed and breed. When it gets colder in the fall, they move away again. This journey is called migration. Migrating caribou. Caribou are a kind of deer that live in North America. They spend the winter in the forests, but move north in summer to give birth to their calves and to feed on the Arctic tundra. Huge herds of caribou travel hundreds of miles to the tundra and back. Hunting wolves. Wolves follow the caribou on their migration, hunting the older and weaker animals. They are very good runners and will follow herds of caribou for up to 13 miles every day. Record traveler. Arctic terns make the longest migration of any animal. They breed in the Arctic in summer and fly to the Antarctic for winter, before returning to the Arctic. That is a round-trip journey of at least 20,000 miles. Arctic terns follow the coasts of Europe, Africa, or the Americas on their long migration. Arctic tern migration routes. Arctic. Antarctic. Did you know? An Arctic tern can live for 20 years. This means that one tern may fly around the world 20 times during its lifetime. The polar bear. Polar bears are the world's largest land hunters. They usually live on their own, prowling over the Arctic ice looking for seals to eat. Fur coat. Polar bears have thick coats of white fur so that they blend in with the snow and cannot be seen by their prey. Beneath the fur is a thick layer of fat. The fur and fat help to keep the polar bear warm. Polar bears have even caught beluga whales to eat. Too hot. The fur and fat on polar bears are so good at trapping heat that the animals can get too warm in the summer. They have to lie down on the ice to cool off. Bear watching. Watching polar bears is very popular in Canada. People use special vehicles so that they can get close to the animals. Strong swimmers. Polar bears are excellent swimmers, using their large feet to paddle through the icy water. Some bears have been seen swimming 60 miles from land. Did you know? The female polar bear digs a den in the snow where she gives birth to her cubs. Polar bear facts. The soles of a polar bear's feet are very rough. This stops the bear from slipping around on the ice. Adult male polar bears can weigh up to 1,500 pounds, that is about the weight of 10 adult humans. When it is very cold, some polar bears cover their faces to stop their bodies from losing heat through their noses. Antarctica. Antarctica is the region around the South Pole. Unlike the Arctic, there is a large amount of land in Antarctica, which is covered by thick ice. These cold conditions make life very harsh for the animals living here. Food for all. Many animals visit Antarctica in the summer. Tiny plants and animals in the sea, called plankton, increase in number as the weather gets warmer. The plankton attract fish, which provide food for seals and penguins. Leopard seals. Leopard seals are fierce hunters. In addition to eating fish and squid, they also eat penguins and other seals. Polar tourists. Very few people live in Antarctica, but more and more people are visiting the region as tourists. These tourists need to be very careful that they do not damage the area by dropping litter or disturbing the animals. Swimming birds. Many penguins lay their eggs and raise their young in Antarctica. They warm their eggs in folds of skin by their feet. Chinstrap penguins are named after the thin band of black feathers that runs under their chins. Did you know? Vostok Station in Antarctica is the coldest place on the Earth. A temperature of almost -130 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded there. Penguins. Penguins are swimming birds that live in the Earth's southern hemisphere, the southern half of our planet. They have webbed feet and flipper-like wings, which they use to swim. Keeping warm. Unlike other birds, penguins have feathers all the way down their legs. They also have a thick layer of fat under their skin. These help to keep them warm in the cold Antarctic. Emperor penguins take good care of their young. Huge colonies. When it is time to breed, penguins gather together in large groups called colonies. They huddle together to keep each other warm. Flying underwater. Penguins are clumsy on land but are graceful and fast in water. The surface of their bodies is smooth so that they slip through the water easily. They find it difficult to walk on land and often slide along the snow on their bellies. The jackass penguin. Jackass penguins get their name from the loud braying noise that they make, which sounds like a donkey. They are found on the beaches of southern Africa. Jackass penguins are about 27 inches tall and weigh up to 9 pounds. Penguin facts. Emperor penguins are the largest penguins. They can weigh nearly 100 pounds, that is the weight of 20 large bags of flour. The largest penguin colonies can contain more than 10 million birds. Farmland. Large areas of land have been cleared around the world to make space for farms. Wild animals come to this farmland to eat the crops, or to hunt smaller animals. Farming fields. Farmland has a mixture of habitats. There may be shrubs between the fields and small pockets of woodland. There are also meadows, which are fields where farm animals graze. These are often full of wild flowers. Farm animals. People have been farming animals, such as cows, sheep, and pigs, for thousands of years. We farm these animals because we can use the milk, meat, and wool that they produce. Butterfly meadows. Meadows are important habitats for insects. In early summer, the grasses are tall and there are lots of flowers, which attract butterflies and bees. This red admiral butterfly feeds on nectar, or sugary liquid in flowers. Bumblebees. Bumblebees visit the flowers that grow in meadows and shrubs. They collect nectar and carry it back to their hives, or nests. They use the nectar to make honey, which they eat in winter. Did you know? Bees will fly up to 9 miles from their hives in search of flowers. Seed eaters. Farmland is good for birds because it provides plenty of food. Seed-eating birds, such as goldfinches, have short, strong beaks that are ideal for cracking open seeds. Living in cities. Many animals live close to people, in parks and yards, in homes, and under the ground in sewers. These animals include foxes, squirrels, rats, and pigeons. City homes. Cities make ideal homes for some animals. There are a lot of places to shelter or build nests. There is plenty of food, too. This can be found in trash cans, in litter on the streets, and in homes. Urban foxes. The red fox has gotten used to living close to people. It visits yards at night, and finds food in trash cans. Foxes are related to dogs and wolves. Raccoons. Raccoons are found in North America where they often visit yards and parks. These clever animals use their long fingers to open bags and boxes to get at any food inside. City pigeons. Pigeons are a common sight in many cities. They gather together in parks and other open spaces looking for food. They can be a nuisance because their droppings make a lot of mess. Nesting falcons. Peregrine falcons build their nests on high buildings. From here, they have a good view of any prey moving around below. Falcons eat other birds and small mammals, such as mice. Living in caves. Many caves are cold and damp and often lie far below ground. Very little light can reach these places. The animals that live there have to cope with complete darkness. Bat caves. Bats sleep, or roost, in caves during the day, hanging upside down with their claws gripping the cave walls. At night, they fly out of the caves to hunt for food. No eyes. The blind cave fish has no eyes. This is not a problem because the caves are dark, so the fish does not need to see. Instead, it relies on its other senses to move around and find food. Caves. Caves range in size from small hollows in a cliff to enormous cave networks that are hundreds of miles long. Cave spiders are very common in many parts of the world. They lay their eggs in large sacs shaped like teardrops, which hang from the cave roof. Cave spiders hunt small insects and wood lice. Did you know? The tiny tooth cave spider is about the size of one of these letters. This minute hunter spins webs on the walls of caves in Texas. Mountains. Mountains have many different kinds of habitat. There are thick rainforests and meadows, as well as steep slopes covered in rocks and fast-flowing streams. Eagle's nest. Golden eagles build huge eyries, or nests, on cliffs and mountains. They are strong hunters, catching mice, hares, and even deer. Golden eagles glide on wings that can measure 8 feet across. Changing habitats. Habitats on a mountain change with the altitude, or height. At the bottom there are forests. Higher up, the trees stop and are replaced by grasslands. At the very top, there are a few small plants and little else. Mountain gorilla. Mountain gorillas are found in rainforests in the mountains of Central Africa. They have thick coats that help them stay warm during the cold mountain nights. Mountain hunters. Snow leopards are found in the mountains of Asia. They are strong hunters that usually hunt sheep and goats. Once snow leopards have killed their prey, they stay close to the body to stop other animals from stealing it. Snow leopards are strong enough to kill prey 3 times their size. Did you know? Snow leopards wrap their long, thick tails around their faces to keep their noses and lungs warm at night. Life on rocks and snow. Few animals can survive at the tops of mountains. There is very little to eat and the ground is covered in large, slippery boulders. Temperatures are low and snow lies on the ground all year round. Mountain movers. Bighorn sheep move up mountains during the summer to feed on grasses on the high slopes. When winter comes, they move down again to escape the snow. Bighorn sheep like open ground, where they can easily see any attackers. Yaks. The yak is a large, shaggy animal that lives in the Himalaya mountains in Asia. It has a thick coat to keep it warm in the cold mountain air. Sure-footed goats. Mountain goats are found on the steepest cliffs, where they leap from ledge to ledge. They can do this because they have special hooves that grip the rock. Did you know? Mountain goats can leap 10 feet from one ledge to another. They can also turn around on ledges that are only a few inches wide. Whistling warning. Marmots are small animals that live in large groups on mountain slopes. Their warning call is a high-pitched whistle. When other marmots hear this whistle, they know danger is near and run into their burrows. The name marmot comes from an old French word meaning mountain mouse. Living in the air. Many animals have learned how to fly through the air. These include birds, insects, and bats. They fly using wings made from feathers or flaps of skin, which they flap to lift them off the ground. Flying lets these animals hunt for food in the air and helps them escape from predators. Birds. Birds are animals that are covered in feathers. These keep them warm and help them fly. Birds also have wings instead of arms, and a hard bill, or beak, which they use to collect food. Hunting birds. Birds that hunt other animals are called birds of prey. They have large hooked beaks and huge claws, called talons, which they use to catch their food. Buzzards fly high in the air keeping an eye out for prey. Colorful feathers. Some birds, such as kingfishers, have very bright and colorful feathers. This is usually to attract a partner. Birds will sometimes perform a special dance to make themselves look even more attractive. Kingfishers use their long bills to catch fish. Waterproof feathers. Birds that live in water, such as ducks, have oily feathers. This stops water from soaking into their feathers. Otherwise the birds would sink. Mallards are sometimes called dabbling ducks because they dabble, or dip, for pondweed. Preening. Birds look after their feathers by keeping them clean. This is called preening. They use their beaks to straighten any bent feathers. Did you know? The peregrine falcon is the fastest animal in the world. When it dives down to catch its prey, it can reach speeds of up to 170 miles per hour. Birds' wings. Birds have wings instead of arms. They fly by extending and flapping their wings. The wings are made from a number of bones with feathers attached to them. They can be long and broad or short and narrow. Gliding through air. Gliding birds, such as gannets, use rising air, or currents, to fly. These birds have very large wings that catch the currents and carry the birds into the air. Some gannets have wings that measure nearly 6 feet across. Wing shapes. Birds that fly by gliding and soaring, such as eagles and gulls, have large wings with long feathers. Birds that fly short distances and need to dart about quickly, such as robins, pheasants, and swallows, have short wings, which they flap quickly. Robin, pheasant, swallow, eagle, gull. Silent flyers. Some owls do not make a sound when they fly. They have soft feathers along the fronts of their wings, which quiet the sound of the air as it passes over the wings. Fast flight. Swallows have short wings that let them fly quickly and dart about to catch flying insects. If they need to dive, they pull their wings into their bodies and drop like a stone. Hovering hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are small birds that can hover. They stay in one place by beating their wings backward and forward very quickly. This allows them to hover in front of a flower so that they can reach in and drink nectar. Some hummingbirds flap their wings 1,200 times a minute. The bald eagle. Bald eagles are birds of prey. This means that they eat other animals. They have very good eyesight, which they use to spot their prey far below. Large wingspan. Bald eagles have a wingspan of over 8 feet. They use their large wings to catch rising currents of warm air and soar high into the sky. Eagle food. Bald eagles eat small birds, fish, and mammals. They will also eat dead animals, especially in winter, when living food is hard to find. A bald eagle catches a fish with its sharp claws. These claws are called talons. Nesting eagles. Bald eagles build huge nests called eyries. A pair of eagles always uses the same nest, making it bigger each year. An eagle's nest can weigh more than 1,000 pounds, or the weight of 6 adult humans. Hooked beaks. Bald eagles have a large hooked beak. They use this to rip their prey to pieces and tear off chunks of meat to swallow. Did you know? The name bald eagle does not mean that the bird has no feathers on its head. Instead, the word bald in Old English meant white. Eagle facts. An adult female bald eagle weighs just under 13 pounds, while the male weighs nearly 9 pounds. Bald eagles live for about 25 years in the wild, but up to 50 years in captivity. Young bald eagles are completely brown. The white head feathers do not appear until the bird is 4 years old. Flightless birds. Flightless birds have feathers and wings but cannot fly. They include the largest birds in the world, such as ostriches, rheas, and emus. Fast runners. Ostriches have long, powerful legs, which they use to run away from hunters. They can reach speeds of 40 miles per hour. Ostriches live on the hot grasslands of Africa. Did you know? The world's largest living bird is the ostrich. Male ostriches can grow 6 feet tall and weigh 350 pounds, that is more than 2 adult humans. Cormorants. The flightless cormorant is a bird that lives in the Galapagos Islands. It swims through the sea around the coast, catching fish, squid, and octopus to eat. Kiwis of New Zealand. Kiwis live in the forests, swamps, and grasslands of New Zealand. They are named after their unusual call, which is a high-pitched whistle. Kiwis have nostrils at the ends of their long beaks, which they use to sniff out insects. Kiwis are about the same size as a chicken. Cassowary. Cassowaries live in the rainforests of Australia. These tall birds have a razor-sharp claw on the end of each leg, which they use to defend themselves. A cassowary has a large bony growth called a casque. Building nests. Most birds build nests in which they lay their eggs. Different birds build different shaped nests, which range from simple cup shapes to enormous platforms. Building materials. Nests are made from a range of materials, such as twigs, leaves, moss, wool, and feathers. Some birds even use human garbage to build their nests. This paradise flycatcher has made its nest from twigs, leaves, and moss. Swallow nests. Swallows build their nests out of small balls of mud and clay. Each nest can contain 1,500 balls of clay. Weaving a nest. Weaver birds build their nests by weaving thin twigs and reeds together. Woven nests usually have narrow entrances to stop egg-eating animals from getting inside. A spectacled weaver bird stands at the narrow entrance to its nest. Massive platforms. Some birds, such as storks and eagles, build large platform nests out of sticks and twigs. The largest platforms can measure more than 6 feet across and 20 feet deep. Nest boxes. A good way to attract birds into the yard is to put up a nest box. Birds then build their nest inside the box. Small birds, such as blue tits, are safe from hunters in a nest box. Did you know? The vervain hummingbird builds the smallest bird's nest, which is about the size of half a walnut shell. Growing birds. All birds lay eggs. The parent birds look after the eggs to make sure the baby chicks hatch. Then they feed the baby birds until the chicks are big enough to leave the nest. Keeping warm. Birds' eggs must be kept warm if the chicks are to hatch. The parents do this by sitting on top of the eggs. This is called incubation. Nest imposters. Cuckoos do not build nests. Instead, they lay their eggs in the nests of other birds, who then look after the baby cuckoos. Baby cuckoos are bigger than the other chicks in the nest, so they get most of the food. Baby birds. Newly hatched chicks are weak and parents must give them all the food they need. Sometimes, parents will swallow the food and then bring it back up for the chicks to eat. Leaving the nest. As the chicks grow, the parents bring back more and more food. When the chicks are strong enough, they will try a few short practice flights. Then they will leave the nest for good. This eagle chick is now ready to leave its nest. Did you know? Ostriches lay the largest bird's eggs. Each egg is about 7 inches long and weighs 2 to 3 pounds. Bats. Bats are the only mammals that can fly. Instead of front legs, they have wings. They do not walk with their back legs, but use them to hang upside down. Roosting bats. Most bats are nocturnal, which means that they are active at night. They sleep during the day, hanging by their feet from the walls of caves, buildings, and trees. This is called roosting. There are nearly 1,000 species, or kinds, of bat. Fruit bats. Fruit bats live in the forests of Africa, Australia, and Asia. Some fruit bats have extra long tongues, which they use to suck nectar out of flowers. Fruit bats are sometimes called flying foxes. Fruit bat camp. Fruit bats gather in large groups high in the branches of rainforest trees. These groups are called camps. Did you know? Some fruit bats have wings that measure almost 6 feet from tip to tip. Bats in flight. A bat has powerful chest muscles, which it uses to flap its wings. It steers by moving the bones in its fingers and legs to change the wing's shape. The bat wing. The bones in a bat's fingers are long and are covered by a thin layer of skin that forms the wing. A thumb sticks out from the top of the wing and ends in a claw. Thumb. Bat senses. Most bats hunt at night, when it is too dark to see. Instead of using their eyes, some bats use sounds to detect objects. This is called echolocation. Large ears. Most bats have large ears, which gives them excellent hearing. They use their ears to collect sounds in the dark and to help them locate their prey. Heat-seeking vampires. Vampires are blood-sucking bats. They feed on the blood of cows, pigs, horses, and birds. They detect their prey at night using special heat sensors in their faces. Vampire bats cut the skin of their prey and lap up the blood. Did you know? Vampire bats can drink about 1.5 times their body weight in blood in one feed. They need to eat at least 2 tablespoons of blood each day. Large eyes. Fruit bats do not use echolocation. Instead, they have large eyes, which they use to find fruit in the rainforest. They also use their noses to smell their food. Fruit bats have larger eyes than other bats because they hunt during the day. Hearing in the dark. Echolocation is the use of sounds and echoes to find objects. Bats make very high-pitched sounds. These sounds hit an object and an echo comes back. A bat can tell where this object is, and how big it is, by listening to the echo. The bat makes high-pitched sounds. The sounds bounce off the moth as echoes and travel back to the bat. Flying insects. Most insects have 2 pairs of wings, which they use to fly. Insect wings vary in shape, from the thin wings of bees to the large, colorful wings of butterflies. Hard to catch. Houseflies have only one pair of wings, but they are still among the fastest insects. They use their speed to escape attackers. Insect hunters. Dragonflies have two pairs of long, see-through wings. These powerful insects are excellent flyers and can catch smaller insects in midair. Dragonflies have large eyes for finding prey. Buzzing bees. The honeybee has two pairs of very thin wings. It beats these wings so quickly that they make a buzzing sound. A bee can fly at 20 miles per hour. Colorful butterflies. Butterfly wings are covered in tiny scales. These scales can be a wide range of colors. Ladybug wings. The ladybug has a pair of tough, red and black wings. These cover a second pair of wings, which are very delicate. The ladybug uses the second pair for flying. Did you know? Most insects do not use their mouths to make sounds. Instead, they rub their wings or legs together to make a noise. Changing insects. Insects change a lot as they hatch from eggs and grow into adults. Some even change the entire shape of their bodies from long, thin caterpillars into winged moths and butterflies. Egg. A female butterfly lays tiny eggs on the leaves of plants. Eggs. Leaf muncher. The eggs hatch into young insects called larvae. The larvae of butterflies are known as caterpillars. Caterpillars eat leaves and grow very quickly. Caterpillar. Hard case. When a caterpillar has reached full size, it turns into a pupa. This is the stage when the insect changes from a caterpillar into a butterfly. This change can take several weeks. As a pupa, the caterpillar surrounds itself with a hard case called a chrysalis. Butterfly. When the caterpillar has completely changed, the chrysalis splits open and a fully grown butterfly emerges. It spreads its wings so that they can dry. Then it flies away to eat and, if it is a female, to lay more eggs. Adult butterfly. The desert locust. Desert locusts are a kind of grasshopper. Unlike most grasshoppers, desert locusts can cause huge amounts of damage by eating all the plants in a region. A locust's head. A locust has a pair of eyes, plus two feelers on top of its head called antennae. Its jaws have jagged edges to chew through leaves. Huge swarms. Sometimes, locusts join together in massive groups, called swarms. Some swarms are 25 miles long and contain billions of insects. Swarms of locusts can fly up to 80 miles in a day. Flying and jumping. An adult locust has two pairs of wings. The front pair is hard and covers the rear pair of wings. Locusts also have a long pair of back legs that they use for jumping. An adult locust can eat its own weight in food every day. Hidden wings. The hind, or rear, pair of wings on a locust is only seen when the insect is flying. With these wings, a locust can fly 12 miles per hour. Rear wings. Locust facts. Locusts make a chirruping noise by rubbing their long back legs together. A large swarm of locusts can eat up to 90,000 tons of food in a single day. That's the same weight as 10,000 African elephants. Living in water. Nearly 3/4 of the earth is covered by water. Water can be found almost everywhere, from enormous oceans to tiny streams. The oceans and seas are filled with salt water. The water in streams, rivers, and lakes is called fresh water because it does not contain salt. Within these aquatic, or watery, worlds is a wide range of habitats, including coral reefs, swamps, and the deep, dark ocean. How do fish swim? Fish have powerful tails, which they move from side to side to push them through the water. They also have a number of fins on their bodies that they use to guide them. Fast-swimming fish. The fastest fish in the ocean are sailfish and tuna. Their bodies are streamlined, or smooth, and thin, so that they can slip through the water easily. Tuna. Did you know? The sailfish is the fastest fish. It can swim at speeds of up to 70 miles per hour. This is faster than the fastest land mammal, the cheetah, can run. Angelfish. Angelfish have a different body shape from tuna. Their bodies are squashed from side to side. This means that are not very fast swimmers, but they can twist and turn quickly. Fish fins. A fish has a number of fins, each with a special job. The pectoral fins and the pelvic fins help with steering and stopping. The dorsal fin helps to keep the fish upright in the water. Pectoral fin, pelvic fin, dorsal fin, tail. Living in a group. Many types of fish swim together in large groups called schools. It is safer for fish to swim in schools because hunters can easily get confused by all the fish darting around. Flying underwater. A manta ray looks something like a huge airplane underwater. Its fins extend from its body to create enormous wings. The ray swims by flapping these wings to fly through the water. A manta ray's wings can measure 23 feet across. Lakes and ponds. The water in ponds and lakes is called still water because it hardly moves. Animals living there do not have to swim against a flow of water as they do in streams and rivers. Plant life. Plants, such as reeds, grow in the shallow water around the edges of lakes and ponds. Many animals like to hide among the plant stems and eat the leaves. Newts. Newts belong to a group of animals called amphibians. They spend most of their time swimming in the water, but they also have legs so that they can walk across land. This newt is brightly colored to warn other animals that it is poisonous. Freshwater fish. Many different kinds of fish are found in ponds and lakes, including this cichlid. Some fish feed on plants, while others hunt and eat other animals. Microscopic life. Pond water is full of tiny living things that are too small for us to see. These are called plankton, and they include small plants, larvae, baby insects, and fish eggs. Plankton. Dragonfly larvae. Dragonflies lay their eggs in water. The young that hatch from the eggs are called larvae. When the larvae become adults, they leave the water and fly away. Dragonfly larvae spend the first year of their lives in the water hunting other animals. The salmon. Salmon spend the first part of their lives in rivers. Then they travel to the sea, where they live for the next few years eating fish and shellfish. After this, they make a long journey back to the river where they were born. Powerful fish. Salmon are large, powerful fish. Their bodies are long and slim, which is ideal for swimming, and they have strong muscles to push them through the water. Salmon swim by flicking their tails from side to side. Heading up the river. Salmon spend most of their lives in the ocean. However, they have to lay their eggs in streams. Every year, millions of adult salmon swim into rivers, against the flow of the water. The journey is long and tiring and the salmon have to get over many obstacles, including waterfalls. With a powerful flick of its tail, a salmon jumps up a waterfall. A feast of salmon. As the salmon swim up rivers and streams, other animals hunt them. Grizzly bears wade in the shallow parts of the rivers and use their strong jaws to catch the salmon as they swim past. Farming salmon. People build special farms where they raise salmon to eat. The fish are kept in large floating cages, like the ones above, for up to 18 months. Did you know? The largest salmon is the Chinook, or king, salmon. It can grow to more than 5 feet long and weigh up to 125 pounds, almost as much as an adult human. Salmon facts. Salmon live in both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The main types of salmon are the Atlantic, sockeye, Chinook, pink, chum, coho, and cherry salmon. Sockeye salmon may swim more than 900 miles from the Pacific Ocean to the rivers where they lay their eggs. Frogs and toads. Frogs and toads belong to a group of animals called amphibians, which lay their eggs in water. Tadpoles hatch out of these eggs and change their shape as they grow into adults. Toads. Toads look very much like frogs, but there are a few differences. For example, toads usually have skin with warts, while a frog's skin is smooth. Frog spawn. A female frog lays about 100 eggs, which stick together in a clump called frog spawn. Each egg contains a tiny black dot that grows into a tadpole. Frog spawn. Young tadpoles. Tadpoles have long tails but no legs. They breathe using gills, just like a fish. Tadpoles. Growing legs. The tadpoles grow larger very quickly. About 8 weeks after hatching, they have grown back legs. Tadpole with legs. Froglets. The tadpoles then grow front legs and their tails start to shrink. They are now called froglets, and they are ready to leave the water. Froglet. Adult frogs. The froglets grow into adult frogs. Adults have large eyes and wide mouths, plus powerful back legs. Rivers. Animals that live in rivers have to cope with flowing water. Rivers also carry small pieces of mud and stones, which can make it difficult to see underwater. River life. The mud on a riverbed is very good for plants to grow. The plants attract insects and other small animals to the rivers. These small creatures attract larger animals, such as fish and birds. Trout. The trout is a type of fish that loves fast-flowing water in streams and rivers. Its skin is brown and spotted, which helps it to hide among the mud and stones of a riverbed. Female trout dig small nests in the gravel on riverbeds where they lay their eggs. Did you know? Electric eels live in the rivers of South America. They produce enough electricity to power 12 light bulbs. They use this electricity to stun prey. River insects. Dragonflies are active hunters along river banks, catching insects while in flight. Other insects that live near rivers include damselflies and mayflies, which lay their eggs in the water. A dragonfly's huge eyes let the insect see all around its body. River birds. Swans and ducks are common along rivers, eating plants that grow on river banks or in the water. Swans build large nests on the river bank to raise their young, which are called cygnets. Black swans live in southern Australia. Estuaries. Estuaries are places where rivers flow into the sea. They are large, flat areas with a lot of mud that small animals can burrow into. River deltas. When a river reaches an estuary, it slows down and drops the mud it was carrying. This mud builds up to form a large, triangle-shaped area called a delta. The Nile Delta forms where the river meets the Mediterranean. River Nile. Fish divers. Cormorants live alongside rivers, lakes, estuaries, and seashores. They dive into the water to catch fish to eat. Some cormorants have even been trained to catch fish for humans. Cormorants can dive down to depths of 150 feet. Ragworms. A ragworm digs a U-shaped burrow into the mud. It then shoots its long jaws out of this burrow to catch and eat any small animal that gets too near. Ragworms have flat bodies covered in bristles. Beach hunters. Shore crabs are found on the mud of estuaries, the seashore, and small streams. They eat other animals that live in the mud, such as worms. Shore crabs burrow into the mud to escape from birds. Did you know? Some kinds of shore crab can run at up to 10 miles per hour. Cockles. Cockles are bivalves. This means that they have two shells that are joined together. They dig into the mud when the tide is out, then they come out to eat when the tide comes in and they are covered by water. Wading birds. Estuaries attract large flocks, or groups, of birds. This is because the mud is full of small animals that birds love to eat. Each kind of bird has a different shape of beak for catching different animals. Curlews. Curlews have long, curved beaks. They push their beaks into the mud to find worms, shrimp, and crabs. Long legs. Many of the birds found in estuaries, such as flamingos, have very long legs. They use these long legs to wade, or walk, through the water, looking for food. Spearing fish. The heron has a long, pointed beak. It stands in the water and does not move. Once it sees a fish, it darts its head quickly forward and catches the fish in its beak. Herons stand with their necks bent into an S shape. Oyster catchers. The oyster catcher has a strong, orange-red beak. It uses this to force open the closed shells of cockles and mussels to reach the animals inside. Beak shapes. Flamingos use their bent beaks to strain tiny animals out of the water. Ducks have a flat beak that can strain animals out of the mud. Pelicans have large pouches under their beaks, which they use to catch fish. Spoonbills have spoon-shaped beaks for scooping up animals from the mud. Flamingo. Duck. Pelican. Spoonbill. Rocky shores. Many shores are covered in rocks that have broken off cliffs. These rocks create pools and plenty of places for small animals to hide in when the tide goes out. Changing tides. Twice a day, the ocean rises up the shore and then goes out again. These movements are called tides. Because of the changing tides, animals on the shore are only underwater some of the time. Starfish. The starfish is a hunter that eats mussels. It drills holes into the mussel's shells to reach the animals inside. A starfish has suckers under each arm, which it uses for walking. Did you know? If a starfish loses one of its arms, it can grow another one. Barnacles. Barnacles are small animals with hard shells. They hide inside their shells when the tide goes out. When they are covered by water, they open the lids of their shells and put out their legs to catch tiny animals that are floating by. Walking fish. Blennies are small fish that are found in shallow water along the shore. They use their fins like feet and walk under rocks to shelter from the crashing waves. Blennies eat small plants and animals, called plankton, which live in the water. Tide pools. Small pools of water are left between the rocks when the tide goes out. A lot of animals take shelter in these pools, waiting for the tide to return. These animals include sponges, urchins, crabs, and small fish. Sea anemones. Sea anemones catch prey by waving their tentacles, or arms, in the water. They can pull in their tentacles to stop them from being damaged. Anemones have stinging cells in their tentacles to stun prey before feeding. Filter feeder. Sponges have tiny holes on their bodies, which they use instead of mouths for eating. They suck water through these holes and strain small animals out of the water. Hermit crabs. Hermit crabs make their homes inside empty shells to protect themselves from hunters. The crabs cover the shells with the remains of dead animals. This helps to hide the crabs on the seabed. Did you know? When a hermit crab grows bigger, it has to find a new, larger shell to live in. Prickly customer. Sea urchins are ball-shaped animals that are covered in spines, which protect them from hunters. They move around on the seabed looking for pieces of small plants to eat. The spines of some sea urchins are tipped with poison. Sandy beaches. Sandy beaches may look deserted, especially when the tide is out. But there are a lot of animals hiding beneath the sand. Looking empty. When the tide goes out, beach animals dig into the sand to hide from the sun, wind, and any hunters. They come out of hiding when the tide comes back in. Worms leave small piles of sand, called worm casts, at the entrances to their burrows. Cockles. Spider crab. Mussel. Fintellan. Sand gaper. Lugworm. Razor shell. Sand dollar. The sand dollar is a type of sea urchin. It lives just under the surface of the beach, where it digs through the sand looking for food. Mussels. Mussels live in large groups on the beach. They attach themselves to each other and to the rocks using thin strands called byssus. Did you know? Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh is the world's longest ocean beach. It is 75 miles long. Kelp forests. Kelp is a type of giant seaweed that grows in underwater forests. These are found in shallow water near the seashore. The huge seaweed forests provide shelter for fish and other sea creatures. Inside the forest, giant kelp can grow to 200 feet in length. It attaches itself to the seabed by roots called holdfasts. Thousands of fish swim between these massive blades of kelp, hiding from hunters, such as sharks. Did you know? Giant kelp is one of the fastest growing plants in the world. When conditions are good, kelp can grow more than 18 inches in a day. Orange Garibaldis. The bright orange color of the Garibaldi fish is a warning to other fish in the forest to stay away. Garibaldis are very aggressive fish and will even attack human divers. Sea otters. Sea otters swim through the kelp looking for sea urchins to eat. They even sleep in the kelp forests, wrapping themselves up in kelp leaves so they do not float away. Sea otters sometimes use rocks to smash open any shellfish. Eagle rays. Eagle rays have an excellent sense of smell. They like to sniff out mussels and other shellfish, which they crunch up using their strong teeth. The large wings on an eagle ray can measure more than 6 feet across. Mangrove swamps. Mangrove swamps are found along coasts near the equator, which runs around the middle of the world. The water in these swamps is a mixture of salt water and fresh water. It is called brackish water. Mangrove trees. The mangrove is an odd-looking tree. Its tangled roots act like stilts, holding the tree above the water. Waving claws. Male fiddler crabs have one claw that is much larger than the other. They use these huge claws to wave at and attract females. Fiddler crabs are small, measuring just under 1 inch across. Wading birds. Egrets wade through the swamp water on their long legs, using their feet to stir up mud on the bottom. This mud attracts small fish, frogs, and insects, which the egrets catch and eat. Land fish. The mudskipper is a type of fish that can move over land as well as through water. It walks using its pectoral fins like little legs. When the tide goes out, mudskippers move over land from pool to pool. Did you know? The Sundarbans in Bangladesh and India is the largest mangrove swamp in the world. It lies where the Ganges River flows into the Indian Ocean. Coral reefs. Coral reefs are some of the richest habitats in the world. They are home to millions of different creatures, including hunting sharks and enormous shellfish. Skeleton home. Coral reefs are made by tiny creatures called coral polyps. Some of the polyps have a hard outer covering called a skeleton. When the polyps die, the skeletons are left behind and gradually build up to form the reef. Coral polyps grow in a lot of different shapes and colors. Types of coral. There are 2 main types of coral polyp, hard coral and soft coral. Hard corals have a hard skeleton outside their bodies. Soft corals do not have a hard skeleton. Soft coral. Hard coral. Reef hunters. Reef sharks are among the largest hunters on the reef. Some sharks swim in groups, called packs, looking for small fish to eat. Giant clams. Giant clams are bivalves, meaning they have 2 shells that are joined together. These huge shellfish can grow to more than 5 feet across. Giant clam. Did you know? Scientists believe that some giant clams make their own sunscreen. The clams' colors reflect light away from their bodies, protecting the clams from the strong sunlight. Reef fish. Coral reefs are home to more than 4,000 different kinds of fish. These fish feed on the millions of tiny plants and animals that live on the reefs. Colorful groups. Anthias are a common reef fish. They swim together in large groups, or schools, which can contain thousands of fish. Parrotfish. Parrotfish are so named because their teeth are all at the front of their mouths and look like parrots' beaks. Parrotfish use their beak-like teeth to scrape tiny plants called algae off the coral. Beautiful but dangerous. The brightly colored stripes of the lionfish are a warning that this is a dangerous creature. The fish's long spines contain a poison that can kill other animals. Living together. Anemones have stinging cells in their tentacles, which can hurt most fish. But clownfish can live among the tentacles because they are covered in a slime that protects them from the stings. Did you know? The Great Barrier Reef lies off the coast of Australia. At more than 1,250 miles long, it is the largest coral reef in the world. Open ocean. The vast areas of open water between islands and continents are full of fish, whales, squid, and other animals. Most of these animals are found near the water's surface, where there is plenty of sunlight. Huge but harmless. The whale shark is a huge fish. It swims near the ocean's surface, using its enormous mouth to strain tiny animals from the sea water. A whale shark's mouth is 5 feet wide. Did you know? Whale sharks are the largest fish swimming in the oceans. They often grow to more than 30 feet long. Giant whales. The largest animals in the oceans are the whales. This is a beluga whale. Even though belugas are one of the smallest whales, they can still grow to 13 feet long. Whales are mammals and need to come to the water's surface to breathe. Cuttlefish. Cuttlefish belong to a group of animals called mollusks. They have 8 short tentacles and 2 long tentacles that are covered in suckers. Cuttlefish use their tentacles to pull food into their mouths. Sea turtles. Green turtles are found in the warm waters of the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. They feed mainly on sea grasses and small plants called algae. Microscopic life. Tiny animals called plankton float near the surface of the ocean. These animals are eaten by larger creatures, such as krill and fish. The krill and fish are themselves eaten by even larger animals, such as whales and dolphins. Without plankton, none of these animals would survive. Young sea creatures. Plankton contains the larvae, or young, of many animals, including crabs. Crabs live on the seabed but their larvae float about in the water. When they are large enough, crab larvae sink to the seabed and grow into adult crabs. Baby fish. Plankton also contains many types of young fish including herring, eels, and cod. These young fish hatch from eggs laid by adult fish. The bodies of baby fish are almost see-through, to hide them in the water. Krill. Krill are pink, shrimp-like animals that are up to 6 inches long. They gather together in large groups called swarms. These swarms can be so big that they turn the water pink. Did you know? Female krill can lay up to 10,000 eggs at a time, several times a year. Plankton feeders. Many large whales eat krill and plankton. They swallow water and strain out the animals using long, bony plates, called baleen plates, in their mouths. Some whales have baleen plates that are more than 16 feet long. Ocean hunters. The ocean is not a safe place for a small animal because there are a lot of hunters looking for their next meal. These hunters include birds flying above the surface, large fish such as barracudas, and mammals such as whales. Schools of herring. The herring is a type of fish that lives in large schools, or groups. Ocean hunters are attracted to these schools because there are plenty of fish to eat. Fast-swimming hunters. Barracudas are fast-swimming hunting fish that can grow to nearly 6 feet long. They swim in large groups, looking for other fish to attack. Barracudas can swim at more than 25 miles per hour. Dive bombers. Pelicans fly over the ocean waiting for fish to swim near the surface. Then they dive into the water and scoop up fish in the pouches under their beaks. Sensitive sharks. Sharks have very good senses to detect prey. They can smell a tiny drop of blood and can feel the twitches made by an injured fish from very far away. Did you know? Sharks have been living in the oceans for more than 400 million years. Whales. Whales belong to a group of animals called mammals. They have to breathe air, just like humans. They do this through a nostril on top of the head, called a blowhole. Breaching. Scientists do not know why whales leap out of the water in a move called breaching. It may be to attract a partner or to knock off other animals that are stuck to their bodies. Baby whales. Instead of laying eggs, whales give birth to live babies. As soon as a baby whale is born, its mother pushes it to the surface to take its first breath of air. Like all mammals, baby whales feed on milk made by their mothers. Killer whales. Killer whales, or orcas, live together in groups of up to 40 members. They hunt together as a group, looking for fish, birds, squid, and even other whales to eat. Dolphins. Dolphins are small whales. They have snouts that look like a beak. These snouts are filled with small teeth that are used to catch fish. Dolphins live in small groups called pods. Did you know? The world's biggest animal is the blue whale. It can grow to about 100 feet long. Whale facts. There are 2 main kinds of whale, toothed whales, which have teeth, and baleen whales, which have baleen plates instead of teeth for straining food from water. A baby blue whale will drink up to 200 quarts of milk from its mother every day, that is as much as 600 cans of soda. Deep sea life. Sunlight cannot reach far below the ocean's surface. Down here, it is cold and dark, and there are very few creatures. Those animals that do live here have many ways of getting enough food to survive. Viper fish. The viper fish has a mouth filled with long, sharp fangs. It uses these fangs to snatch prey and hold it firmly so that it does not escape. Gulper eel. The gulper eel has a huge mouth and a flexible stomach. This lets it swallow animals that are almost as big as itself. Deep-sea giants. Sperm whales dive down to the deep ocean to hunt for their favorite food, giant squid. Some sperm whales have scars on their bodies left from vicious fights with giant squid. Giant squid grow to 43 feet in length. Did you know? Scientists have discovered a squid that is even larger than the giant squid. The colossal squid may grow up to 65 feet in length, that is longer than 2 buses. Gone fishing. The deep-sea anglerfish has a glowing bulb dangling over its mouth, which it uses to attract other fish. When the fish get too close, the anglerfish gobbles them up, Life on the seabed. The seabed is covered with a thick layer of slimy mud and the remains of dead animals. Most of the animals that live here will eat these dead remains. This is called scavenging. Hot water animals. In some of the deepest oceans, hot water escapes through chimneys in the seabed. Many animals live near these chimneys, such as giant tube worms and mussels. The water is heated by red-hot rocks just beneath the seabed. Mussels. Tube worms. Grenadier fish. Grenadier fish have short bodies with long tails, and large mouths and eyes. They hunt for shellfish and other fish to eat, but they will also eat dead bodies. Brittle stars. Brittle stars are related to starfish. They have very long arms, which they wiggle around to move over the seabed. A brittle star's arms are up to 24 inches long. Spider crabs. Spider crabs get their name from their extra long, spidery legs. They walk slowly over the seabed, looking for shellfish and dead animals to eat. Some spider crabs can live for more than 100 years. Did you know? The largest crab in the world is the Japanese spider crab. It can grow to 12 feet across, that is more than twice the size of 2 adult humans. Saving our wildlife. We call an animal endangered when very few individuals are alive. For example, the tiger is endangered because only a few thousand are left in the wild. An animal becomes extinct when the last one dies. Sadly, many thousands of different species, or kinds, of animal are endangered, and hundreds become extinct every year. Extinct is forever. Animals become extinct, die out, for many reasons, such as a change in their habitat. For example, if the climate gets warmer, the animal may not survive this change. Ancient animals. Crocodiles are ancient animals that were around when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Unlike the dinosaurs, crocodiles have survived. Other ancient animals still around include alligators and tortoises. Terrible lizards. Dinosaurs disappeared 65 million years ago. They became extinct because the world's climate changed. The dinosaurs could not survive this change, so they died out. Dinosaurs, such as Tyrannosaurus rex, could not survive in the new climate. Hunted to death. Dodos were a kind of flightless bird that lived on Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. They became extinct in the 1600s because they were hunted by humans. Under threat. Many well-known animals could become extinct in the next 10 years or so, including the giant panda, tiger, and black rhino. A few of these animals survive in national parks and zoos where they are protected. Did you know? In 2006, the World Conservation Union published a list of 16,119 animals, plants, and fungi that may become extinct. Conserving animals. The best way to save endangered animals is to conserve, or protect, their habitats. This can be done by creating national parks and by stopping farms and factories from polluting the land. Watching animals. Some African countries, such as South Africa and Tanzania, have turned large areas into game reserves and national parks. Animals that live inside these areas are protected from pollution and human hunters. Many tourists visit game reserves and national parks to watch the animals. Did you know? The U.S.'s Yellowstone National Park was the world's first national park. It was created in 1872. Bird watching. People can watch animals in protected areas. This building is called a hide, and people use it to watch birds without disturbing them. Cleaning up. Everybody can help to protect animal habitats. Garbage can be harmful to animals, so these people are cleaning it out of a pond. Organic farming. Many farmers use chemicals called pesticides and fertilizers to grow their crops. These chemicals can harm wildlife. Organic farming is a way of farming that does not use these chemicals, so wild animals are not harmed. These pigs on an organic farm are free range, which means they are allowed to walk outside. Back from the brink. Some animals have been saved from extinction. This has happened because people have stopped killing them and zoos have bred them to increase their numbers. Hunted for fur. Northern fur seals were hunted for their fur and were almost extinct by the early 1900s. In 1911, the people killing the seals agreed to stop hunting them. Since then, the number of fur seals has increased. European bison. Because of hunting, the European bison, or wisent, disappeared from the wild in 1927. But 50 bison still lived in zoos, and these produced young. Bison have now been released back into forests in Poland and Russia. The European bison is related to the American buffalo. The nene. The nene, or Hawaiian goose, is found only on the Hawaiian Islands. In 1949, there were fewer than 30 left. Some of these were caught and taken to breeding centers around the world. Now, more than 1,000 birds live in the wild. Did you know? The takahe is a flightless bird that lives in New Zealand. People thought it was extinct in 1898, but it was rediscovered 50 years later. Golden lion tamarins. Fewer than 100 golden lion tamarins survived in the forests of Brazil by 1984. Luckily, more of these monkeys have been bred in zoos and released back into the wild. All kinds of animals. To make it easy to identify and name the millions of creatures there are in the world, scientists group animals together according to their structure. So, for example, animals with 6 legs belong to a group called insects, and those with feathers belong to another group called birds. By studying an animal's features, we can work out what group it belongs to. Grouping animals. All animals belong to a group called the animal kingdom. This is divided into 2 groups, which are divided again and again into ever smaller groups. An individual animal, such as the polar bear, is known as a species. With or without backbones. Animals divide into 2 groups, those without backbones, called invertebrates, and those with backbones, vertebrates. These are split into smaller groups, for example, vertebrates divide into fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Polar bears belong to a group of animals called mammals. What is a polar bear? It belongs to the animal kingdom. It is a vertebrate, has a backbone. It is a mammal, mothers make milk. It is a bear, a kind of mammal. It is a polar bear, its common name. What's inside? Scientists study the insides of animals' bodies to see what animal group they belong to. For example, different types of animals have different shaped skeletons. Most mammals, such as cats, have 4 legs. Birds have beaks, large breast bones, and wings. Breastbone. Wing. Reptiles, such as crocodiles, have long skulls. Outer appearance. Sometimes, you can tell what group an animal belongs to just by looking at it. For instance, birds have bodies that are covered in feathers, mammals usually have bodies covered in hair, and reptiles have scales. A shark is a fish. It has fins instead of legs, uses gills instead of lungs, and is covered in scales. Fin. Gills. Sponges, anemones, and jellyfish. Sponges, anemones, and jellyfish are invertebrates, or animals without backbones. They live in water and have a tube-shaped body that is open at one end. Anemones. Anemones have rings of arms, called tentacles, around their mouths. These tentacles can sting other animals. Anemones use their stinging tentacles to catch their food and pull it into their mouths. Mouth. Tentacles. Sponges. Sponges cannot move and remain attached to the seabed. They eat by drawing water through holes in their bodies and filtering out tiny plants and animals floating in it to eat. These are tube sponges. They can be 3 feet long. Jellyfish. Jellyfish have bell-shaped bodies at the top with a lot of stinging tentacles hanging below. They eat small animals and plants that they catch in their tentacles. Fan corals. Fan corals are made up of millions of tiny creatures called polyps. Polyps look a little like tiny anemones. Fan corals are found in warm seas and can grow to nearly 10 feet in size. Hard corals. Hard corals have tough skeletons that are left behind after the animals die. These skeletons build up over many years to form coral reefs. Staghorn corals can grow up to 8 inches every year. Staghorn coral gets its name because it looks like the antlers of a stag. Worms. Worms are animals without backbones. Many live in water, while others live underground. Some worms live inside the bodies of animals and are called parasites. Earthworms. Earthworms are a kind of segmented worm. Their bodies are split into sections called segments. Earthworms eat dead and rotting leaves, which they pull down into the tunnels they dig through the soil. Tapeworms. Tapeworms are parasites that live in the guts of other animals. They eat the other animal's food. Some kinds of tapeworm can grow to 50 feet in length. Tapeworms use these sharp hooks to dig into the guts of animals. Nematodes. Nematodes live on land and in the water, as well as inside other animals. Most nematodes are too small to see with the naked eye. However, the largest are 25 feet long and live in whales. Fan worms. These are segmented worms that are found on the seabed. They live inside tubes that they dig in the mud. When fan worms want to eat, they stretch their tentacles out of the ends of their tubes. Fan worms wave their tentacles in the water to trap any passing food. Lugworms. Lugworms live in the mud on beaches and around the mouths of rivers. They dig burrows into the mud. They suck water into these burrows and filter out any food particles to eat. Insects. Insects belong to a very large group of creatures called arthropods. Adult insects have 3 body parts, a head, a middle section called the thorax, and a tail section called the abdomen. They all have 6 legs. Fleas. Fleas are tiny insects that are parasites. This means that they live on and feed from other animals. Fleas have powerful back legs and can jump 150 times their body length. Butterflies. There are 17,500 different species, or kinds, of butterfly. Butterflies have 2 pairs of wings. Each pair is joined together by tiny hooks, so that they flap at the same time. This swallowtail butterfly has a fork-shaped tail, just like a swallow. Cockroaches. Cockroaches are some of the oldest insects on the earth. They have been around for 320 million years. Cockroaches have long, flattened bodies that are covered in tough external, or outer, skeletons. Dragonflies. Dragonflies have 2 pairs of wings that are usually see-through. Many have long, thin abdomens. Dragonflies have huge eyes, which let them see right around their bodies. Dragonflies keep their wings open when resting. Ants. An ant has a large head and a long, oval-shaped abdomen that is joined to the thorax by a thin waist. Most kinds of ant live together in huge groups called colonies. Abdomen. Thorax. Head. More insects. Bees. There are more than 20,000 different species, or kinds, of bee, including bumblebees and leaf-cutting bees. Bees eat pollen and nectar, which is a sweet-tasting liquid made by flowers. Honeybees turn nectar into honey and store it in their nests. These nests are called hives. Praying mantis. Some kinds of mantis look like twigs, leaves, and even flowers. This helps them hide from their prey as well as from any other hunters. A praying mantis got its name because it holds its front legs together as if it is praying. A praying mantis holds its prey in a very strong grip with its front legs. Ladybugs. Ladybugs have bright red, yellow, or black markings. They are a kind of insect called a beetle. Ladybugs are important to gardeners and farmers because they eat aphids. Aphids are tiny insects that cause a lot of damage to plants. Ladybugs are poisonous to birds and small lizards. Stag beetle. Stag beetles got their name because of their huge jaws, which look like the antlers of a stag. These jaws are so big that they can make up half of a stag beetle's total length. Stag beetles use their huge jaws to wrestle with each other. Wasps. Many kinds of wasp live together in large nests. A few species live on their own, such as spider wasps. Wasps' nests are made from paper which the wasps make by chewing wood. A wasp's yellow and black bands warn other animals about its sting. Crustaceans. A crustacean has a body that is covered with a tough shell called an external skeleton. Most crustaceans live in the water, but a few can survive on land. Crabs. Crabs live in the sea, on land, and in rivers. Their bodies are protected by thick shells called carapaces. The front legs on crabs have developed into large pinching claws which the crabs use to hold objects and prey. Shrimp. There are about 2,000 kinds of shrimp. Their long thin bodies are covered in a see-through shell. All shrimp swim backward by twitching their bodies and tails. Wood lice. These crustaceans live on land, usually in dark and damp places, where they eat rotting wood. Some wood lice roll up into tight balls for protection. Water flea. Water fleas, such as Daphnia, are found in the fresh water of lakes and rivers, but a few live in the sea. Most water fleas are usually too small to see with the naked eye. However, some are as large as half an inch long. Daphnia wave their antennae, or feelers, to move through the water. Lobsters. Lobsters have 5 pairs of legs. One or more of these pairs ends in pincers called chelae. Lobsters can either walk along the seabed or swim through the water by flicking their long tails. Centipedes and millipedes. Millipedes and centipedes have long bodies that are split into many segments, or sections. Millipedes have 2 pairs of legs per segment, while centipedes have 1 pair of legs on each segment. Centipedes. There are more than 5,000 different kinds of centipede. They usually live in woodlands, among the fallen leaves, except for house centipedes that can spend their entire lives inside buildings. All centipedes are poisonous and use their poison to kill their prey. House centipedes have very long legs that let them run quickly. Giant centipedes. These are the largest kind of centipede. Some can grow to 12 inches long. They are hunting centipedes. They come out at night and search for their prey, which can include vertebrate animals, such as mice. Millipedes. Unlike centipedes, millipedes are not hunters. Instead, they eat plants. To protect themselves, millipedes roll up into tight coils. Some kinds of millipede give off a foul-smelling liquid that scares off any hunters. Pill millipedes. Pill millipedes are much shorter than other millipedes and are often mistaken for wood lice. When threatened, they can roll up into balls to protect themselves. Giant millipedes. Giant millipedes can grow to a length of nearly 16 inches and are as thick as your thumb. The largest millipedes have more than 100 segments to their bodies. Some kinds of millipede can jump over an inch when they are attacked. Arachnids. This group of animals includes spiders, scorpions, mites, and ticks. Arachnids have 8 legs and, unlike insects, they only have 2 body parts, a head thorax and a separate abdomen. Web-weaving spiders. Many kinds of spider produce thin threads of silk. Some weave the silk into sticky webs which they use to trap prey. Some spiders eat their webs at the end of each day when the stickiness has worn off. They then build fresh webs. Orb-weaving spiders wrap their prey up in spider silk before feeding. Poisonous spiders. These spiders use poison to harm or kill other animals. The bite of about 200 kinds of spider can cause pain to a human or even death. A spider can choose whether or not to inject poison when it bites. The black widow spider has one of the most powerful poisons in the world. Hunting spiders. These spiders do not build webs. Instead, they chase after prey or ambush unsuspecting animals. Hunting spiders include wolf spiders, tarantulas, and huntsman spiders. Ticks and mites. Ticks and mites are parasites that live on and feed off other animals. They use their jaws to suck the other animal's blood. Some ticks and mites will rest on top of long blades of grass, waiting to jump onto passing animals. Some female ticks can suck up 100 times their body weight in blood. Scorpions. A scorpion has 4 pairs of legs. The front pair ends in pincers. The scorpion's tail curves over its body and ends in a sting that is used to paralyze prey. Mollusks. Mollusks are invertebrates, which means they do not have backbones. They either have shells around the outside of their bodies or the remains of shells inside their bodies. Cuttlefish. Cuttlefish are related to octopuses and squid. They have shells inside their bodies. Cuttlefish have 8 short tentacles and 2 long ones, which they use to catch prey. They swim backward by forcing water out of their bodies in powerful jets. Cuttlefish can change color to hide from hunters. Clams. Clams are bivalves. This means that they have 2 shells that are hinged so that they can open and close. Giant clams can be more than 3 feet long and weigh nearly 450 pounds. Limpets. These mollusks are covered with cone-shaped shells and live on rocks along the seashore. Limpets move slowly over the rocks, eating tiny plants called algae. When the tide goes out, limpets pull their shells down tight and stick to the rocks. Sea slugs. Many sea slugs are brightly colored. This warns other animals that they are poisonous. Sea slugs eat other animals, including sponges and, sometimes, other sea slugs. Snails. Snails have coil-shaped shells and are found living on land as well as in rivers, lakes, and the sea. When threatened, a snail will retreat into its shell and close a plate, called an operculum, over the opening. A snail moves about by stretching out its large foot. Starfish, urchins, and cucumbers. These creatures belong to the group of animals called echinoderms. They are found in the sea, where they live on the shore, seabed, and coral reefs. Echinoderms do not have eyes, brains, or hearts. Sea cucumbers. These slug-like creatures have leathery or spiky skin and grow to a length of 7 feet. Some kinds of sea cucumber throw out sticky threads when attacked, in order to confuse any hunters. Starfish. There are more than 1,800 different kinds of starfish. They usually have 5 arms that are attached to a central body. Some kinds of starfish have as many as 50 arms. Starfish can regrow any arms that they lose. Sunstars. Sunstars are a kind of starfish. They have between 8 and 16 arms and can measure 14 inches across. They crawl over the seabed hunting for shellfish and other starfish to eat. Sea urchins. Sea urchins are ball-shaped animals that are covered in spines. They hide in cracks between rocks. Their spines make it difficult for hunters to catch them and pull them out. Sand dollars. Sand dollars are a kind of urchin, with a flat body shaped like a coin. They live on beaches and burrow into the sand when the tide goes out. Saltwater fish. Fish are vertebrates, or animals with backbones. They live in water and breathe using gills. Fish that live in the oceans have to cope with all the salt in the water. Sharks. Most sharks are hunters and chase prey, such as fish and crabs. A few sharks are not hunters. Instead, they eat tiny plants and animals called plankton. Instead of bone, sharks have a skeleton made from a flexible substance called cartilage. Gills. Rays. Rays have flat bodies, and they swim by flapping their sides, just like the wings of birds, to fly through the water. Some rays have poisonous spines on their tails, which they flick up when they are threatened. Eels. There are about 400 different species, or kinds, of eel. These fish have long, snake-like bodies. Some eels, such as this moray eel, hide in holes in warm, shallow water. They leap out and grab prey as it passes by. Sea dragons. Sea dragons are related to sea horses. They use their long fins to paddle slowly through the water looking for small plants and animals to eat. Sea dragons can grow to 18 inches in length. Sea dragons have long fins and flaps on their bodies to make them look like pieces of seaweed. Angelfish. Angelfish live on coral reefs in the Indian, Atlantic, and Pacific Oceans. These fish have flat bodies with long fins and small mouths. Their patterns change as the fish get older. Freshwater fish. Freshwater fish live in rivers, streams, and lakes. There are very few fish that can live in both freshwater and saltwater. Piranhas. Piranhas live in the lakes and rivers of South America and grow to 2 feet long. They hunt in packs and attack other animals, using their razor-sharp teeth to bite out lumps of meat. The teeth in a piranha's mouth slice together like a pair of scissors. Catfish. Catfish have feelers that stick out from around their mouths. These feelers look like cat's whiskers and are called barbels. Catfish use these barbels to find food that is hidden in the mud of riverbeds. Cichlids. More than 600 kinds of cichlid live in lakes and rivers of Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Some kinds of cichlid are called mouth breeders. Their young are raised inside the mouth of one of the parents for protection. Carp. These fish originally came from the lakes and rivers of Asia, but they are now found in Europe and North America. Goldfish are one kind of carp. They have been specially bred by humans to give them their bright colors. Some kinds of goldfish have long, flowing fins. Pikes. These fish are powerful hunters with very large heads and mouths. They hide in the bottom of lakes, waiting to catch any fish, frogs, and even ducks that pass by. Amphibians. Amphibians are animals that spend their adult lives on land but return to the water to lay their eggs. Their young grow up in the water, but they move onto land when they are adults. Poison arrow frogs. These frogs are small, but they are very poisonous. Their bright colors warn other animals to stay away. They live in the forests of South America, hunting insects and other small creatures. Newts. Newts have long, thin bodies with long tails that are flattened from top to bottom. If a newt loses a leg or even an eye, it can grow back the missing body part. This is called regeneration. Toads. There are about 300 species, or kinds, of toad. They eat insects and other small animals, which they catch with their tongues. Some kinds of toad make a poison that can paralyze and even kill an attacker. Salamanders. Salamanders are closely related to newts. They live in rivers, lakes, and woodlands in cool parts of the world. The largest salamander is the giant salamander. It can grow to a length of 5 feet. Frogs. Frogs have long legs that are ideal for leaping, as well as webbed feet that are good for swimming. They have smooth skin and leap around, while toads have skin with warts and hop. Reptiles. Reptiles are animals that have scaly skin. Some kinds of reptiles spend a lot of time in water, but they all have to lay their eggs on land. Turtles. Turtles can pull their heads and legs inside their hard shells for protection from attackers. Turtles are found in lakes and rivers and in warm seas. Some sea turtles can swim huge distances, covering 300 miles in just 10 days. Alligators. These reptiles have long bodies with short legs and long tails, which they flick to push them through the water. They eat fish, small mammals, and birds. Alligators have wide snouts, while crocodiles usually have narrow snouts. Tortoises. Like turtles, tortoises have large shells that protect their bodies. Tortoises have short legs that they use to walk slowly over the ground, usually at speeds of about 350 yards per hour. Crocodiles. Crocodiles are hunters that eat birds, mammals, and fish. Crocodiles lay more than 100 eggs at a time. They build nests that are specially designed to keep their eggs warm. Crocodiles tuck their legs into their sides when they swim through the water. Tuataras. These reptiles are only found in New Zealand. They are related to both snakes and lizards. A tuatara has a special third eye on top of its head. Some scientists think the tuatara uses this to control its body heat. More reptiles. Boas and pythons. These large snakes eat birds and mammals. They kill their prey by wrapping their bodies around the animals so tightly that the prey cannot breathe. This is called constriction. When the prey is dead, these snakes open their mouths very wide and swallow the animals whole. Poisonous snakes. There are nearly 3,000 kinds of snake, of which about 450 make poison. They use this poison to kill prey and to defend themselves. Most poisonous snakes inject poison by biting. But one kind, the spitting cobra, squirts poison at the eyes of attackers. This can blind attackers, letting the cobras escape. The Indian cobra has a hood that it stretches out when threatened to scare off an attacker. Iguanas. Iguanas are a kind of reptile called a lizard. Lizards make up about 95% of all species of reptile. Iguanas have long claws that help them to climb the trunks of trees. Geckos. Geckos are a kind of lizard that eat insects. Their feet are covered in tiny hairs. These hairs allow geckos to run up walls and even to hang upside down from ceilings. Geckos usually come out at night and make a chattering noise. Agama lizards. Agamas are a kind of lizard found throughout Africa. During the day, agama lizards sunbathe and their colors become brighter as they warm up. At night, the agamas turn a dull brown color. Because they are so colorful, agamas are also called rainbow lizards. Birds. Birds are animals that lay eggs and whose bodies are covered in feathers. All birds have 2 wings, even the ones that cannot fly. Herons. Herons belong to a group of birds that includes egrets. They are wading birds and have long legs so that they can stand in water looking for fish. Egret. Flightless birds. There are several kinds of bird that do not fly. They include penguins and emus. Ostriches are the world's largest birds. They have very long legs and can run up to 40 miles per hour. If attacked, an ostrich can kick its long legs to defend itself. Pelicans. Pelicans have long beaks with pouches underneath. They use these pouches to scoop fish out of the water. Brown pelicans catch fish by diving from the air into a group of fish underwater. Gulls. There are 40 species, or kinds, of these large, web-footed seabirds. They hunt for food on beaches, eating worms, shellfish, and even human garbage. Larger gulls will steal eggs and young from other birds to eat. Gulls use their large wings to glide through the air. Wildfowl. Birds in this group include ducks, geese, and swans. All of these birds have webbed feet, and they can swim and float on water. Their feathers are covered in an oil that stops them from absorbing water. This would cause the birds to sink. Swans use their long necks to reach down to the riverbed to eat pondweed. More birds. Kingfishers. Kingfishers are birds with large heads and long, pointed beaks. They mainly eat fish, which they catch by plunging into the water. There are some 90 different species, or kinds, of kingfisher found around the world. Kingfishers sit on branches over streams, looking for fish to catch in the water below. Songbirds. There are about 4,000 species of birds that sing. Their songs range from the tuneful calls of blackbirds to the squawks of crows. The birds use these songs to attract partners and to defend the areas they live in. Blackbirds puff out their feathers to make themselves look bigger when they are threatened. Parrots. This group of birds includes macaws, cockatoos, parakeets, and budgerigars. Many kinds of parrot can copy human speech and say simple phrases. The hyacinth macaw is the largest kind of flying parrot. Hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backward. They use their long beaks to reach the sugary nectar found in flowers. Birds of prey. These are powerful birds, with hooked beaks and feet that end in sharp claws called talons. Birds of prey include eagles, falcons, and owls. They eat other animals, including small mammals and fish. This falcon has very good eyesight and can see prey moving from great distances. Mammals. Mammals are animals whose bodies are covered in fur. Most of them give birth to live young instead of laying eggs. Female mammals then make milk to feed their young. Platypus. The platypus is unusual because it is a mammal that lays eggs. It has a duck-like beak and webbed feet to help it swim. It also has small poisonous spurs on its back legs to defend itself with. Kangaroos. Kangaroos belong to a group of mammals called marsupials. Female marsupials have pouches to carry their young around in. There are over 300 kinds of marsupial, including koalas and opossums. Pouch. Rodents. Rodents are the largest group of mammals. There are nearly 3,000 species of rodent. Rodents include rats, mice, and giant capybaras, which are the size of large dogs. Insect eaters. These animals belong to a group called insectivores. They include hedgehogs, shrews, and moles. They eat insects and other small animals, such as earthworms. Primates. There are 300 species of primate, including monkeys, apes, and humans. Gorillas are the largest primates. They can weigh up to 500 pounds, that is about the weight of 3 adult humans. More mammals. Whales. Whales belong to a group of mammals called cetaceans. They have long, fish-like bodies and their front legs have become flippers. A blue whale needs to eat nearly 4 tons of krill every day, that is nearly the weight of 3 family cars. Whales flick their tails up and down to push them through the water. Rhinoceros. Rhinos are mammals with hooves and 1 or 2 horns just above their noses. There are 5 kinds, or species, of rhino living in Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. Rhinos have a thick skin called a hide. Deer. There are about 30 different species of deer. They are all plant eaters and feed on grass, twigs, bark, and plant shoots. The largest deer are moose, which can grow to more than 7 feet in height. Lions. Lions belong to a group of mammals, called carnivores. They have stabbing teeth and long claws. Male lions have thick manes of hair around their heads and necks. Mane. Bears. There are 9 species of bear, including polar bears, grizzly bears, brown bears, and sun bears. Most bears are carnivores, or meat eaters, but they will also eat ants, seeds, bees, nuts, and berries. The end.